Hey guys, what is up? Lefty back here again, and thanks for checking out the video. So today we're going to be running over shotguns. Now, shotguns is a weapon platform that I really haven't touched on all too much, really because there's not a whole lot to talk about in like an individual video, like how to run them and then like how to set them up. So those are kind of important things, but I'm just going to smash both those topics kind of into one video and just kill them both real quick. So real quick, the two shotguns that I think everybody should own, or at least if you are a lefty looking to buy kind of thing, is a Remington 870 or a Mossberg 500 or 590. Both those models are perfectly fine. There's some variances in there, like the 590A1. Doesn't really matter which one you get. Kind of do a little bit of research. The older 870s are a lot better than the newer ones. This is kind of like that middle ground. These are not the old ones, but these are kind of like when they started to get whatever, where they have plastic trigger components, which are kind of And then the 590, the A1 is personally what I would probably get, but if you can't afford much, nothing wrong with the 590 or 500, personally. So, little misconception about these shotguns. The shotguns is not it's a simple weapon in that it's very easy to operate, kind of like a bolt action. It's very reliable as long as the user operates the weapon effectively and efficiently. So the problem with the 870s, or just shotguns in general, with the pumps, and what I would prefer, I would recommend people getting pumps because I think they're a little bit more reliable and they tend to eat pretty much everything because it's not the gun relying on the ammunition to cycle it, it's the user, right? So that is the fail point, again, in the shotgun for the pump action, is that you have to make sure every time you rack a shell that you do it with authority and you throw it out with emphasis, stuff like that. So anyway, that's kind of what I would prefer for shotguns, is a pump action 870 or a 500 or 590 for the Mossberg. So that's kind of what I want to do for my personal opinion. This one is a 870, like I said, it's kind of that middle ground one. Remington, stuff like that. It does have the mag pull stock, which I'm not super duper into. I think it's good. I think it feels good. The only problem I have with it, it kind of requires you to, in order to shoot it very comfortably, you have to kind of blade yourself, kind of old school style. So if I do kind of the M4 modern shooting style, it kind of just hurts the wrist a little bit too much, and it just gets kind of a weird kink, kind of like the standard grip on an AR-15. It's just too far kinked back. It kind of just fucks up the wrist a little bit. Unless you blade a little bit more, then it gets your wrist more kind of in line where it feels a little bit more comfortable. But when you blade, it tends to have a little bit more of a, I don't know, assier recoil to kind of control, instead of just squaring up to it and just leaning into it. But it just kind of kinks the wrist over a little bit too far. But kind of minor things. And then it's just a stock forend. You can obviously get new ones. There are a couple ones that I would recommend, and we'll go over that real quick when we set them up, kind of thing. So when I set up my shotgun, I like to use these kind of things. These are basically just a piece of Velcro with some elastic on them to hold the shells. There's a good amount of companies that make these. This is an SOE. This is the one that I kind of prefer. I think they're like 20 bucks, if that. You get them on sale or get them during a little thing. They last quite a while, surprisingly. It is all, Velcro. So basically, if you want to know what to do, you basically just get rubbing alcohol, completely degrease the side of the shotgun, 3M Velcro tape on one side, and then you have the other side for your kind of your mag pouch, if you want to call it that, right on the shotgun. It's kind of my favorite way of keeping slugs or just rounds on the shotgun. You can alternate these with different kind of load types. That's kind of the versatility, awesomeness about the shotgun, is you can have different loads, like we have a slug here, blah, 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 and stuff like that. There is shit that you can get for stocks. I don't like them. We'll get into the reason why I think this is just kind of the better method of doing it and stuff like that. And then obviously the forend. One thing about racking it like this, as you can see how far that plastic, I know it's black, I'm black, but you can see how far that forend goes back there, so you have to be kind of cognizant. There are obviously better forends that don't have a lot of that plastic coming back. Now, if you wanted to, you can trim this off. Really not that necessary, but if you wanted to. Otherwise, I would prefer running this even more forward than that, so I can get my finger a little bit more comfortable, because as you can see now, the shells are kind of blocking the stuff like that. So also, obviously, we'll talk about actually manipulating it, but there's one big reason why I like the Mossbergs over the 870s, but we'll get into that after I get kind of done talking about the setup. And then again, foreign, if you want to have lights on it or stuff like that, good idea. You can't just go the old school duct tape kind of shit. It works. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Other than that, one thing I would recommend for the 870s is to get a bigger safety. This is the downfall of the 870 platform, just this stupid push button safety. It sucks dick. It's very hard for left-handers to kind of use quickly, but which is the big advantage with the Mossberg 500 series, because it has a tang safety right here, right where this little rubber piece is. It's super easy. All you have to do is click, click with the thumb. You never have to adjust your grip or anything like that. It's super, super awesome. So that's kind of the quick rundown of the shotguns. Now let's go into kind of how to quickly operate them as best to our ability as left-handers, because we have a little bit of advantage and also a big disadvantage. The big one is going to be the safety with the 870s. But other than that, the slide, or excuse me, the pump release is right there underneath on the left side, so we can actually use our shooting finger to actually activate that, so that's kind of nice. But other than that, the safety is going to be the big one. Safety, how I like to run it, is finger is going to be away from the trigger, and then left pointer finger is going to be right underneath. So if I'm going high, muzzle high or something like that, let's say I heard a noise and I'm searching the house. Nice thing about this, if I have a light, I can actually bounce the light off the ceiling and actually illuminate it without having to point my gun at anybody, so that's a bonus. And then also it's a little bit more comfortable to run it like this, because I can actually run my left middle finger on the safety, click it off, and then point if I need to actually use it, and then do the same thing in reverse. Muzzle down's a little bit assier because it's just that trigger guard gets in the way. You can do some weird funky things with a thumb, which is not terrible. It kind of feels like you're using like an AK kind of ready. You click with the thumb and then you just bring up into sight, but I just kind of prefer muzzle up. It's just a little bit quicker in my opinion, so that's what I would recommend everybody doing, that kind of thing. But find out what works for you and then rock it is pretty much the consistent through line that I have through most of my videos. So now that we've kind of talked about how to set it up, let's talk about how to run it. So what we're going to do is, what I personally like to do is called cruiser ready. And basically what you're going to do is going to have an empty chamber. You're going to run make sure the gun's unloaded, right? You're going to run the slide forward, and then you're going to press the trigger so the hammer is down. Now you are going to load the gun however long. Now people are going to talk about, I suppose I should talk about extended tubes. I like the shortest barrel as you can possibly get. Now they do have pistol buffer tube shit that you can put on them so you can get a shorter barrel. That's personally up to you. Shotguns are hard recoiling guns. I don't really want some flimsy plastic on there. I kind of just want like an actual stock, so 18.5, whatever. But anyway, for extended mag tubes, sure, you know, as long as they work and they're consistent, you know, might as well rock on. But anyway, so load that fucker up with 2, 4, 3 rounds, whatever it is. I think this one's 4 in the tube, whatever it is. And then ammo choice. It's kind of too much in this video. We're just kind of focusing on the whatever. We can kind of talk about ammo choice in a different video and stuff. But load the tube up, and now because the hammer is down, the safety still operates, which is a bonus. So every time, all I have to do now in order to load one into the chamber is do the classic racket and then scare the hell out of everybody, you know, kind of thing. So that is kind of my preferred way of staging a shotgun. I think it's probably the safest. Because these things can drop fire if the safety is not on, that they can actually pull their own triggers and shit. So it's kind of sketch. So I kind of just like having that ability, just being able to drop the hammer, keep it on safe, keep the barrel down. This is how it's staged in the house. Barrel's down, so you can actually just come up, grab it, and then pull it out if you needed to. And a jiffy without having to try to fumble and hit this little switch down here. So now let's talk about reloads, because that's kind of a funny thing for left-handers to kind of talk about. Really, what we're going to be talking about is just breech loading. And that's just a technique to quickly reload the shotgun, kind of like you're running a bolt action without any magazine almost. So let's say we go bang, 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 click. So now we rack back. We have an empty chamber. So from left-handers, let me see how the easiest way to do it is. For left-handers, the easiest way I like to run it, you can run it both ways on the side saddle thing, which is what I prefer. And I know they have side saddles that are plastic. I prefer these just because you can rip them off and have another one if you need to. I don't know, personal preference. But and one thing too, I like to run them orientation with the brass pointed to the ground, just because it's easier for me, because my hand comes back. I just strip one off, and then as I rotate it to put it into the breech, it's already right there, if that makes any sense. So, and these are live rounds, we're just not going to pull the trigger kind of thing. So once again, we go bang, 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 click, and then we go back to rack. We got nothing in the chamber. So then we see empty chamber. We go a little underneath the reach around here, and then we kind of, I like to put it between finger and pinky. That's just an easier way for me to do it. That way, none of my fingers are in the way as I go to push it into the breech, if that makes sense. So under speed, it would be bang, 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 click, and then forward. So it's just kind of a, I am very rusty at this. I have not done this in quite some time. So, but as I'm here, I reach around, grab the shell, and orient it in between my fingers. Kind of slap it in. As my hand is right here, I close it, and then I'm back on target, and my hand is already pushed forward. You can, if you wanted to, run them the opposite way. This way, I just personally think is a little bit assier, just because I usually have to break the gun. I like to keep the gun on my shoulder as much as possible. This way, I can just run it here, and I don't have to. So let's say I reloaded. I had to put another shot out, racked it, boom, racked it. It would be a lot easier if I was actually pulling the trigger, trust me. But yeah, it's a little bit quicker, a little bit easier for me personally than trying to come over the top and rack it, but it's just personal preference at that point. And you're probably wondering about the retention. The retention is very good. These will wear out. But as long as that retention is good, they will not fall down. That is probably the only negative that you're going to be able to have. Of course, a shotgun in civilian capacity is not really going to be doing a whole lot other than going from behind the door or in the safe or wherever you got this thing stashed and pulling it up and basically just pointing it at the doorway because you're not really going to be running around with this thing. But as you can see, it takes quite a bit to even move the thing. So it will fall out, but very, very unlikely. Plus, this is just your reloads, right? So you have 4 in the gun, maybe 5 in the gun, whatever your tube length is. And then you got 6 on tap on the side. So it's kind of my preferred way of running it. Nothing really else. But obviously, once we go from our port load, we put it in. Now, let's say we don't have to shoot anymore because dude ran away or he's on the ground, whatever the hell, whatever happened. Now we can simply keep the gun on target and then go and continue to feed gun as we keep there. Over the top just kind of blocks my view, which I'm not a big fan of, which is why I kind of like the underneath. A little reach around here, underneath, over the top, just kind of blocks my shit. Personal preference, but a small thing, but really there is no negative other than personal preference and the fact that I don't like obscuring my sights. I kind of like that method. So that's pretty much it. We might talk about ammo type and what to put into the gun, different video, but for now I'd say that's pretty good. We got about 15 minutes, so that's a pretty good length. Could have split this down into 2 videos, but let's just knock this bitch out with one. So anyway, thank you guys for watching. If you guys want to look at any of my social media, it's in the link below. Yeah, got some stuff coming up. Hopefully will be good. A little bit expanded from just the normal gun stuff. So stay tuned for that. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. Be good.